Okay, let's take a look at the Public Drinking Water Program, Chapter 1, Organization. This is what the first page will look like if you download all the rules of Department of Natural Resources. We're going to walk through all of these regs. So often, water operators have issues and problems because they don't understand the regs and how the regs work. So our attempt is to explain this, to give you all the different ideas and facets that control DNR, how they work, and how the regs work. If you know the regs, it's easier to operate a system. That's just all there is to it. So let's just go through Chapter 1. We're going to break these up so they're monotonous. Just we have to say it is all there is to it. We're going to try to break them up to where we don't cram them too much in you at one time and give you breaks. Chapter 1 of Division 60. It describes the organization and methods of operations of the Department of Natural Resources. Public Drinking Water Program is part of the Division of Environmental Quality of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. The Missouri Department of Natural Resources has a lot of different avenues. If you look at their web page, everything environmental is included in the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, even down to lakes and parks and stuff, some of them. Its mission is to assure the provision of safe and adequate public drinking water supplies for residents of and transients in the state. Operator certification, you'll find that systems are classified as community systems, non-community, transient, non-transient. You'll have to learn some of that, but you won't be dealing with most of that anyway. Public Drinking Water Program activities include program administration. This is basically the headquarters at Jefferson City. They pretty well control the program, the data, the records, the issuing the permits, and any kind of variance, new applications. Just they control the regulations. And then number 3 goes to drinking water activities in the regional offices, includes surveillance and evaluation of the adequacy and condition of public water supplies. So what it boils down to, Jeff City controls the regs, the regional offices control the water systems. Now you can interact with Jeff City at various times because they have some stuff that such as the records of sampling and this kind of stuff that you can call and find out. But for the most part, you'll deal with your regional office. Okay, roll on down, and this number 4 says laboratory services include analysis of water samples. However, at this time, the Department of Health laboratory does all of the water sampling. The DNR offices are closed, and the Department of Health does all the laboratory sampling and sends the results to the Department of Natural Resources and to you if you get it set up right. We'll approach that in a future lessons how to do that. Okay, we've talked about the central office and the regions. We'll look at their map here off their website. Right in the center of the state, Jeff City. That's where the regional offices are. Okay, and there's a St. Louis office, Macon in the northeast, Kansas City is in Kansas City, Springfield is the southwest area. Raleigh is a satellite of Poplar Bluff office because Poplar Bluff office is so far down and away from part of their area that they have a satellite office in Raleigh, which works out well for them. But what you'll find is water systems generally, probably 2/3 of the water systems are right here in this quadrant of the state. There's a lot of them right around the St. Louis area, but the northern area and the southeast area, they're scattered, they're more sparse. But what you have here is around the Branson area, you have a lot of water systems around the lake. Same way with Lake of the Ozarks. Up in this area, there's a multitude of small water systems around those lake areas, and they may not be but 50 or 60 connections, but they're still community water supplies. Okay, back to the regs. The Department of Natural Resources, we call them DNR all the time. They generally supervise the regulations of the safety of drinking water systems, and they develop plans and programs to ensure safe drinking water systems and adequate amounts of safe drinking water for the people of the state. Sometimes you think that some of their stuff is a little bit overboard or silly, but yet sometimes it takes stuff like that to make water systems work and to keep track of them. The thing about dealing with DNRs, don't hide anything. If you need help, of course, call Missouri Water first, and then if it's a violation problem or something, get with Missouri Water and DNR will work you through it. If you hide stuff, get crossways with them, that's when you'll have trouble. DNR, paragraph C, administers loans and grants to federal government. Those will come, you'll hear them, they're called SRF funds, state revolving funds. That's money they get from EPA, certain blocks all the time, and as that money is paid back, then it's loaned out. That's why they call it a revolving fund, because it's loaned out and it's paid in, loaned out and paid in. And it's available on the DNR's website under Finance Assistance Center. Okay, paragraph D, encouragement participates in studies, surveys, sanitary survey investigations, and research to safe drinking water. Anytime that a resident calls in with a complaint to DNR, the regional office has to respond to that complaint in some fashion or form. Typically, they'll have to show up on site. Sometimes they'll call, but very rarely. They'll if it's an issue, they'll show up, take a sample typically. If it's a quality issue or something, and they'll visit with the system and with the complainant, of course. And a lot of times you don't know who the complainant is, although you can usually figure it out. But they'll show up unannounced if there's a complaint, and that's the way it has to be. Somebody has to follow up on all of those complaints. Paragraph E, through the Safe Drinking Water Commission, they write all the rules. There's a public notice. Anytime that there's a rule change, there has to be a public notification. There's public meetings. They call them hearings. And then there's public comment again before there's a vote taken by the Safe Drinking Water Commission. We'll get in that commission in just a minute. Chapter F, DNR issues, modifies, and revokes orders and prohibits and abates the dispensing of water from any public water system which they determine is not compliance with MCL levels. The department may adopt other remedial measures to prevent dispensing to the public water that is not of safe quality. So if you have you can do it like if you have a bad sample, or if you do, they'll issue a boil water notice. You can do precautionary boil water notices yourself, like for line breaks and such. But if there's an order or violation, typically DNR will administer it. There is a provision to where if the system becomes, how am I going to say this, run down, unmanaged, the department can take that system over. They typically do not. It takes a rare occasion for them to take what they call receivership of a system. The last one that I know of has been several years ago, and they take receivership, and then they have someone become the receiver who runs that system until it's either sold or absolved in another system hooked to a public water supply or something of that sort. Department of Natural Resources holds hearings, issued notices of hearings and such. Whatever they have to do to do the Safe Drinking Water Act, they do. I mean, it's hard to explain, it's just in a nutshell. They take care of the Safe Drinking Water Act. DNR enters into agreements, contracts, or cooperative agreements with other state agencies, federal agencies, interstate agencies, political subdivisions, educational institutions, health departments, or other organizations for the purpose of administering the Safe Drinking Water Program. It's just that they administer the Safe Drinking Water Program, period. Now, DNR is controlled by the Safe Drinking Water Commission. The Safe Drinking Water Commission, their duties. Paragraph A, the Safe Drinking Water Commission is charged with promulgating rules necessary for the implementation, administration, and enforcement of the Missouri's Safe Drinking Water statutes. What it is anytime the DNR wants to make a rule change, it has to go through this membership of the Safe Drinking Water Commission to be voted and approved on before they can change the rules. Membership. 9 members of the commission. They're appointed by the governor and with the advice and the consent of the Senate. So the governor appoints them, Senate affirms them. At this time, they haven't changed in several years. Paragraph 2, 4 members shall be associated with the operation of public water systems as follows. 1 member has to be from a public water system with less than 75 people. 1 member with a public water system between 76 and 2,500. 1 member from a system between 2,501 persons to 100,000, and 1 member shall be associated with public water systems greater than 100,000 people. And then there'll be 5 members who represent the drinking water public. And these are down here, it's not highlighted, shall have demonstrated an interest and knowledge about water quality, and they shall be qualified by education, training, experience concerning with drinking water. Paragraph 4, to the greatest extent possible, the various associations representing water supplies and the class sizes indicated in subgraphs shall be represented on the commission. It's a highly valued position to be on the Safe Drinking Water Commission, and that is sums up these rules here. 4, organization of public drinking water. So basically, that's who you'll do with is the Department of Natural Resources.